Ante. We're live now, by the way. So apologies
Hola.
to our South American fans.
Or Spanish.
Or North America. You know what? Just or other hemisphere
Let's just
in
cut
Spain.
to the chase. Apologies to our fans.
Apologies. It's Cordkillers.
And not just the fans.
We
but
make
those who
no
might have
apologies
happened to-
except that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So
I have to drink my coffee left-handed.
Amos, I
with
think
this
I
setup.
think I could just leave your mic on. Or can you?
I mean, because I can mute myself. I'm not gonna like interrupt the middle of the show. So
Yeah, go ahead
Yeah,
and
yeah.
mute yourself, and then I think we can
Yeah.
we can do
Mute.
that. And then wait,
Mute
actually, give me a little test
yourself.
audio.
here.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure it was going into vMix. Yeah.
Do you want me to test with my mute on or off?
No. I just forgot to do that a little bit.
Okay,
Okay.
well I'm muting again now.
Awesome.
You sound even better muted.
Oh, I know. That's. I look better off camera too. So
Yeah. All right. Get ready.
So seo.
In 3, 2. Oh no. I tricked everything.
Damn it. You can't trust this guy. I thought it was Andrew Main, but it turns
Why
out you
is
can't
it
trust
not
Brian Brushwood either.
playing? Cancel. Hold on. Let me try that again. Oh, that's very strange.
is it playing to a bus that was taken over by the Call Me?
Is it an express bus?
Oh, you know what? Hold on. Let me see. Fake Tom.
Would you like to
get the
kiss
B
me
bus.
on the bus?
Oh, and Tom, they're in the. I've got Carl in
Oh.
the subways.
Interesting. Are you hearing the audio, Tom?
Yes, I am. That's why I'm dancing.
Oh,
Well,
well, that's very strange indeed.
Was I the only one hearing the audio?
Yes.
Tom's like, this is the worst remix ever.
Oh man, I wonder if people at home were hearing it too.
Well, that was my next question. Did the stream hear it and only you and Amos could not hear it? Or was I the only one who could hear it?
Well, here
'Cause
I'm
that'll tell
gonna
you
try it
something.
again.
I will check. Let me jump on the Modern Rogue channel and see, because we should be live there, right? We are. Okay.
No, it is
No, I don't hear it going live.
now that
Screen, like just a red screen. No, that's delayed. I'm way delayed.
Yeah, it's 15 seconds behind. Okay,
Yep.
what about this? Do you hear that, Tom? You don't? What about now?
Now I
Oh,
yes.
oh, interesting.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cordkillers test
No,
screen.
that's not it.
Brian, of course I wouldn't hear it on the stream because I have my main bus muted, so I'm not feeding back to you guys.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, so it looks like all of these, I'm going to turn on both A and B bus. I don't know how they all got turned off.
Okay, so that last test I did here. So now I'm going to go ahead and mute myself again.
Okay. Great. And, oh, okay. Yeah, it doesn't matter what I'm sending Amos because we're not doing audio on.
Well, I mean, come on.
Oh, wait.
He's right
Oh,
there.
yeah. Okay. All right. So you're able to hear me. You're not hearing yourself. Is that correct, Tom?
That is correct.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to save as 03
Save as
Next.
Brian Brushwood.
buses, maybe. Okay. All right. Cool.
Brian Brushwood is a scientist.
Yes, that's true. That's real science happening. Okay. All right. Well, then we'll start it again in 3, 2, 1.
There's a murder that happened, and we are on the case, trying to find out how to watch what we want, where we want, whenever we want. I'm Detective Tom Merritt with my partner, Brian Brushwood.
Yeah, man. This is a nice golf course. I hope we find the real killer of Cords. Wherever he is, he's out there at large. We're trying real hard
trying to find him.
We're just wearing hot dog suits on the links, trying to find the real killers.
Yeah. If you know anything, cordkillers@gmail.com.
That's right.
Because right now we have 0 leads. No, this is the show that is responsible for the mess we're in. And we are committed to finding our way out of this mess of streaming to be able to help you watch what you want, when you want, wherever you want. And so in this post-apocalyptic landscape of entertainment, we go on a supply run.
Supply run, supply run, supply run.
Brian, could this be the solution to all of our problems? Warner Brothers, right? If this works, then that brings in a bunch of money for them, and Paramount is developing a Game of Thrones movie. Oh, so it's more Game of Thrones, but in movie form. So it saves the theaters. Written by Beau Willimon, who wrote the Prison Break arc on season 1 of a little show called Andor. He also wrote the Festive Evening arc on season 2 of Andor. He was also the showrunner of the show that started this whole apocalyptic scenario, House of Cards, and a producer on season 2 of Severance.
Okay, my heart just went on such a roller coaster ride. Up and down and all around to something to save Warner Brothers. They certainly could use it. Movie would be good. And then you said Game of Thrones, and I literally didn't know how to react, because from what I hear, the Dunk and Egg series is quite good, and maybe there's something there. But this is a House of the Dragon related story, or an independent thing, or who's the Targaryen in question?
The rumor is that it will focus on Aegon Targaryen's conquering of Westeros. So this would go to the origin story of Westeros.
This
basically,
would be like
Westeros
Exodus,
we meet,
Old Testament stories.
Yeah, the Westeros we meet at the beginning of the Game of Thrones books and the beginning of the Game of Thrones HBO series is a Westeros throwing off the shackles of the Targaryens. This would be the throwing on of the shackles of the Targaryens.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. I just realized that we weren't live on Twitch. I'm fixing that right now. Apologies to all of our Twitch watchers.
For those of you just joining us, we are talking about a Game of Thrones movie made by Beau Willimon at Warner Brothers. And Willimon wrote some of your favorite episodes of Andor, as well as the showrunner of House of Cards.
So let's assume that it's good. It's very good. Does that matter?
Right, because the conquering of Westeros is set up to be dramatic, right? We're going to see the invasion. We're going to see dragons galore. House of the Dragon takes place after the conquering. So this would be a war movie, basically. And that sure has the makings for something amazing.
I'll tell you what, if this is something that is outside of any particular current, whatever the meta is on Game of Thrones, where it's like, if they with a straight face can say, do you like any part of Game of Thrones? Great. This is connected to the part you love. Did you like any of those amazing properties that you just mentioned, Tom, from Beau? Great. You're going to have a great time. This could work, assuming, although I am curious how much of the Game of Thrones good vibes was dragon adjacent, because I assume we're going to have to care about dragons.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing about the Targaryens is the dragons. And I feel like Beau Willimon is a guy that is up for a challenge. So I don't doubt that he can navigate the obstacles. But some of the obstacles I can see are the beauty of Game of Thrones was a mystic past. The Targaryens were a mystery in Game of Thrones, right? We didn't know any of them until later it was revealed, oh, guess what? This or that character happens to be a Targaryen, or you meet one, right? But the Targaryens are kind of a mystery. You also have the mystery north of the wall. You have the mystery of what actually happened to the dragons, and they have their skeletons. It's all very like, oh, in the distant past, this happened, and what are its echoes in the future? When you go back and do an origin story of the conquering, Now you're doing a in the present. And so you lose a lot of that aspect. And I think a lot of people liked that aspect of Game of Thrones. What is the mystery and how do we solve it? And you don't really have mysteries with the Targaryens, because they're going to conquer it, and they're going to conquer it with dragons, and no one's going to stop them. So you got to keep that interesting. And that's why I'm like, it's got to be a war story, right? They're going to have to come up with things, maybe with George R.R. Martin's help, maybe not, that keep you invested in that story that's happening with the conquering as the background.
Well, and keep in mind, I mean, it's funny to me that when you mentioned all the things people like about Game of Thrones, you didn't mention the literal Game of Thrones, which actually is the intrigue is extremely important. Now, in the case of, we know the outcome involves Aegon on a dragon or whatever, great. Let's just assume everyone knows that. Lots of room for intrigue. Like, is he mad because his girlfriend got killed right before he starts slaughtering people? Is he happy because he got picked in a miniature Game of Thrones? I mean, there's a bunch of different things.
Also, the whole thing north of the wall was an aspect that kept complicating the Game of Thrones, right? One of the, I mean, I wasn't trying to ignore the actual political intrigue part of it, but I'm like, that's the expected part. The unexpected part was all of this other stuff happening in the background. Now you don't, I don't know what you do to bring in that unexpected part. And that's Beau Williman's problem to solve, right? And I have every confidence that he can. I'll be curious what it is. I don't think you can go north of the wall to do it, though. I suppose you could, but it's ineffectual, because you're like, yeah, they won't do anything for another couple hundred years.
Well, let's play this game. Number one, how much do we believe this will see the light of day? Because forgive me, I'm a little bit gun shy in an age of who knows how many Star Wars projects we heard announced that didn't go anywhere. Like, do we believe this will even happen?
I mean, honestly, unless the studio were actually to undergo a huge change of ownership, which is exactly what's about to happen.
Well, and again, in that Game of Thrones, then anybody who has a pet project that was on the precipice of doing a thing, maybe somebody's on their way out before the big takeover, make sure to either leak or announce
this,
gauge interest. I mean, you want to know the real Game of Thrones, it's the acquisitions that companies made along the way.
Yeah, it's making sure that by the end of this year, David Ellison knows that a Game of Thrones movie is in the works at Warner, which he is about to be in charge of, and has an idea of how well or not well it was received. The good news is Ellison has committed to 30 theatrical releases a year, which is by some accounts a ridiculous number, because that's more than 2 releases a week, meaning you're going to have to compete with yourself in an ever shrinking pool. But if he's going to keep to that number, he's going to need movies. He's going to need movies that get attention and get press. And this is definitely one of those.
Yeah, I do worry. I mean, really, behind this story, regardless of how much I care about upcoming writers, regardless of how much I care about Game of Thrones, I do care very, very deeply about blockbusters writ large. I want movies to be healthy. And I got to tell you, the more I sit with the idea of an increasing amount of cartelness and everything is all just one slate that doesn't have to compete, usually that's not great for the customer.
It works great in China.
Yeah, walking right past that exit, my friend.
Look, we have a lot of movies coming from other sources, right? Amazon, MGM, Disney, Universal, even Apple. So you've got competition there. I'm not too worried about Paramount getting too much control, but I do worry about them kind of burning themselves out with this idea of like, we're going to flood the zone with movies. That could actually backfire and make it worse for them.
Yeah. Look, I mean, a Game of Thrones movie, maybe it's great, but
it could be great. And Beau Williman, good start, right? Let's see who else you attach to this picture. But yeah, So far, I'm not hearing anything disqualifying.
Now you did you watch the new Game of Thronesy thing, the Duncan Egg one?
I'm actually in the middle of Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and have found it quite entertaining. Interestingly, what's so entertaining is they went very small.
Mm-hmm.
You do get a Baratheon, you do get a Targaryen here and there, so you're like, oh yes, I'm grounded in this world. But it is a small story, and that is where the source material had it, right? That George R.R. Martin did his big sweeping epic Game of Thrones book, and then Duncan Egg was like, let's tell a smaller story that's within that same universe, but I don't have to get caught up into making sure I've got all the backstories and intrigue matching up. I can just, plug in a couple of characters that have a good backstory, but, their adventures are the point. And I think the TV show did a pretty good job of capturing that so far. I'm only halfway through.
Okay. So I would imagine, and again, I am sitting on the fence. I did I served 7 years in Westeros, and I don't feel called
You were
back.
honorably discharged.
Exactly, right? But I did one tour. How is your current enthusiasm for a new property as a movie?
I would call it a 4 out of 10. How about you?
You know what? It's a black box. I don't even know whether or not to be excited about.
Yeah.
I'd
Maybe
say
I'm
4
more
out of
like
10.
that too, but 4 out of 10 doesn't mean like I can't be excited. I'm starting at a 4. It's Game of Thrones. I'm interested.
Mhm.
Maybe Bo Willimon brings me up to a 5. What else you got?
You know what?
You know?
I just got an email. I'm going to read it verbatim. This is a leaked script. Opening genetic laboratory, space station, Westeros. We've done it, sir. We invented dragons. Great. Now just invent magic too. You got it.
I'll be honest. The thing that would get me most excited is never going to happen. And that is Westeros 1999. Like, show me
down the road
the future of this planet. And sort of like doing an archaeological dig and a historical talk about the war of the Targaryens, and yet then bring in like the stuff from north of the wall still a threat somehow. Is
there any property that's done a good job of that sci-fi, that peanut butter and chocolate sci-fi and fantasy blend? Because there are a number of books, the Pierce Anthony Incarnations of Immortality series come to mind, where it's like you might wear either a digital wristwatch or a sundial strapped to a magic sundial strapped to your
Dragon Riders
wrist.
of Perth is a good one.
Yeah.
That's also a book though. I'm trying to think.
I'm here for that. I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
The
I can think of lots of books.
Creed version of Game of Thrones, Hawk Worley says.
Yeah, well, and I can't think of anybody who's taken a property and fully transported it, right? Like, I want to say Star Trek, but if you were to go into Star Trek's past, well, that's just us, right? So that's not as interesting. But like somebody, I know Star Wars has made feints at it, especially in the video games. But like, take me to a past, or really like take an old property, an old fantasy property, and project it into the future. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of books that do it. Well, Brian and I commit to writing a script for exactly that property if you give us enough backing at patreon.com/Cordkillers.
Yeah, man, I want to give a shouts out to everybody on Inflation Watch. That's what I think of every time and all of them are flooding in. Everybody is looking at how much they're donating at patreon.com/ it's not a donation. We provide goods and services.
Yeah.
How many people are finally paying their tab at patreon.com/Cordkillers? That, of course, gets you an exclusive RSS feed where you get early access to the full experience, exclusive access to our bosses only after talk segment. But I'm stoked at how many people are looking at what they were paying us, and they realized maybe that made sense 15 years ago. Doesn't today. Look, a meal once a month. How much is a meal? How much do you spend on a meal? Great. Would you allow Tom and I to split a meal once a month? Great. You owe it to us. Well, why don't we get square? Head on over to patreon.com/Cordkillers. You'll feel better.
Fantastic. Yes, make yourself feel better now. Let's move on to the search party. So the news is out. The Bear, the story of a chef in Chicago turning his brother's beef restaurant into a fine dining restaurant. Season 5 coming later this year will be the last. They are part of an ever-growing trend of letting TV storytellers end their stories when the story ends rather than when the ratings demand it. So yeah, we're going to get the end of the Bear Tale. Season 5 later this year on Hulu.
5 is an interesting number of acts for a thing. We always hear 7 bandied about.
7 seasons, right? A 5-act play is normal, so maybe it's kind of following that trope. Although, honestly, these seasons don't feel like acts to me. They feel like the kind of seasons you'd be like, well, let's come up with another compelling story in The Bear, right? They don't feel as if they were planned from the beginning because there's time jumps and stuff, but maybe they were. I shouldn't say that.
Tom, you're not going to believe it. I have a script here for The Bear season 5 opening. The Bear, Space Station Westeros. Did you hear that they just invented dragons? Let's celebrate.
How do we serve them? Yes, Bear season 5 coming later this year will be the last. That will be the last. Speaking of beef, a trailer for Beef season 2 is out, which will be coming back to Netflix on April 16th. Remember, this is a different cast than season 1, kind of anthologizing the series, set on a golf course.
Dude, this has really, really strong. I know we were kind of speculating about it, but this is strong White Lotus vibes. It feels
really did. I noticed
very
that
White
too.
Lotus-y.
Yeah.
And then eventually, I have the script here. They pan out, and it's set in Westeros world. That's the location for the
golf course.
Yeah.
And at the hole 19, they'll serve you a nice, crispy dragon beef. Harry Styles streamed his first concert in nearly 3 years on Netflix on Sunday, but the concert happened on Friday. Coward. Why not live stream it, Harry?
So
so he did his first concert in nearly 3 years in Manchester. It was a showcase of the album. This was not the full concert that he's going to do when he goes on tour and does his residencies and all that. This was him basically playing the album from top to bottom. And then I think they wanted to make sure the edits were good and the audio was sweet. And then they premiered it on Netflix on Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. And it streamed live. You could join it in progress, but it wasn't actually being broadcast.
I don't hate that as an idea, sort of you had to be there. Now, keep in mind, I have a vested interest in this kind of thing working because every morning on office hours, I play content live for everyone and we do live premieres. But I think that I hope that we see more of this. My question for you, Tom, is, are we worried on pins and needles anytime Netflix does a live thing anymore? Do we believe that they've cracked it?
No. Here's the thing. Harry did a very smart thing, which was, I don't need this to be live. And if I do it live, it will be at a time that's not convenient for the entire world that is Netflix to tune in. I want it to be at a time that's convenient for people in Manchester to show up. And it can only go wrong. If it goes right, nobody notices. If it goes wrong, everybody notices. Let me just stream this in the regular way that Netflix knows how to do rather than in the live way. The next big Netflix live challenge is coming on March 20th. That is when they are streaming the BTS comeback show from downtown Seoul.
Every
BTS
thing has been nothing compared to this.
They are going to play live in front of the palace in downtown Seoul in the middle of the night for North America. But remember when we talked about that fight on Netflix and Andy Beach helped us understand, it's not so much that you didn't expect the number of people, it's that you didn't know how to load balance. Right. You didn't know where they were coming from. There were people from all over the world interested in that fight, people from Australia, people from India. And so trying to figure out how to load balance it was one of the problems they had. That problem, what they learned from that is going to be on display on March 20th when people from all parts of the world are going to want to watch that concert.
Yeah, dude, this is, do you think this is going to be the biggest live streamed thing Netflix has ever done?
It could be. It could very well be. And I think it has a very good chance of being. It could also be a big disaster because the BTS army is not afraid to express their opinions when you let them down with something you promised them.
Yeah. I have their opening number here. It takes place on Space Station Westeros.
Funny. Does it talk about dragons?
Yeah, no. They invent yet more live streaming equipment. They can't make it fast enough.
Dude, when BTS did their final show together from Busan, it was a free concert they put on in Busan. They live streamed it for free to the world, and it crapped out. It did not go well. Now, they didn't have Netflix involved in that one, right? So Netflix has learned a thing or two, and they are good at this, but this is going to be a test. Netflix, probably a lesser challenge, is bringing back Little House on the Prairie for the reboot that will launch on July 10th. And Netflix is already committed to a second season for that as well.
Something Space Station.
Yes, thank you. Half pint dragon.
Yeah.
The latest alternate broadcast of a sport will turn NHL players into animated characters in the Inside Out universe. This will be a game between the Washington Capitals and the New York Rangers on Sunday, April 5th at 7 p.m. on ESPN and Disney+.
Do you think the movement of this, the momentum, is coming from a increasing demand, or quite simply the cost of doing it just becoming zero? Because nowadays with
the cost coming down is a big one. Yeah, that's a really good point. I think that it's also a vector of promotional opportunity for properties at Disney, like Inside Out, and they see an expansion of audience. So they know a certain number of people are going to watch the Capitals and the Rangers on Sunday, April 5th. And if they do this as an alternate broadcast, those same people will watch it. They won't go away because they'll be watching a normal broadcast, but a bunch of their kids might also watch it because they can watch the Inside Out broadcast, or a bunch of Inside Out stans will watch it because it's Inside Out and they're going to want to do it. So I feel like Disney knows what they're doing of like, it's promotional opportunity for Inside Out. It's cheap to do, and it brings in an incremental audience we wouldn't get otherwise.
That's interesting. That's an angle that I hadn't really considered. Previously, all the announcements have been like, we're doing it because we can do it. And now we're doing it with The Simpsons or whatever. But the idea of it never being a default always on option, or nobody falling in love with it as an always there phenomenon, but instead it's just perpetually a special event to get free PR and to get new properties or existing properties back in the conversation. That makes a whole lot more sense to me.
Yeah. The day they do a Bluey themed one.
Oh, wow.
They will have the same problem that Netflix is facing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Netflix's The Night Agent has been renewed for season 4, and they will shoot season 4 in Los Angeles. I think the previous seasons were in New York. I don't watch The Night Agent, but I know it is very buzzy. A lot of people are into that. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is available to stream on Peacock starting on April 3rd. So if you've been waiting for it to come to streaming, that's coming. And Zootopia 2 coming to Disney Plus on March 11th. So there right now for many of you as you are listening to this later. Finally, AMC approved its Silicon Valley show, The Audacity, for a second season prior to the premiere of season 1, which is on April 12th. Though I know they're doing a preview at South by Southwest this week in Austin.
Oh, did you say I challenge you to get into that, Brian? We'll find out how it goes.
Yes, I now have said that. Yes. All right, let's move on to the buried treasure.
Most people want to know why they suddenly got rich.
Buried treasure.
The buried treasure portion of the show is where we just talk about something we've been watching so that we can recommend it to you. And maybe you're like, hey, that's a cool thing I wouldn't have known about. Brian, you watched this Hoppers movie I've heard so much about.
Yeah, the Hoppers movie was fine. I wonder if my take on it was just expecting from the previews.
Avatar? You're
Well,
expecting Avatar?
No. They did a great job of managing those expectations. However, Pixar does have a really good pedigree of wading into complicated emotional and ethical territory, like Wall-E.
And the premise here is that a child is pretending to be a animal, right?
Yeah, and actually talks with animals, and then in the trailer, forward facing,
hence the Avatar.
They immediately like, what if there's conscious beings who have to eat each other or whatever? And that I thought was electric because that exact theme gets addressed. That's a major riff in The Wild Robot. Did you ever see that one, Tom?
No, I did not, but I have heard about it.
The Wild Robot was fabulous. They deal with exactly for reasons. They have predator and prey all hiding together in the same thing. Hopper's, unfortunately, for my mind, it got really interesting where not only did they play with that idea, predators and prey all hold up together because humans were behaving badly, but then they make it kind of humans versus animals. And then I'm like, oh my God, are they riffing on our hyper-polarized political landscape? And they were, and it became very obvious. And then their solution was, I don't know, clean it up. And I was like, all right, I was a little bit bummed.
So the analogy fell apart for you when they got to the moral of the story, it sounds like.
Well, yeah, because I'm like, and your hot take is not a hot take. Oh, okay.
Your hot take is solve it.
Yeah, right. It's quite literally, we're all in this together. That's it.
Yeah. All right.
But I will say also they did a King Julian booty shake dance number that was I didn't care for.
Okay.
But
Dad didn't like the provocative dance.
No, I didn't like the cliche. It seemed beneath Pixar. Some of the moves seemed beneath Pixar. It did have a couple of very big surprises that made me burst out laughing. But then they didn't pay.
All right. Mixed bag.
Yeah.
Hoppers.
Although I did watch on my flight back from the security conference, I watched Get Back. I finally watched episodes 2 and 3. What was it, 5 years ago that this came out? Number one, I was shocked at how much like VO3 it looked like. It looked like cliche AI, and yet
because of the restoration of it. Yeah.
What seems so groundbreaking back in the day just seems cheap now, and yet knowing that this is all based on the authentic footage, the spell got cast, and all of a sudden I stopped caring. This wasn't a bunch of 16 millimeter film super enhanced. As far as I was concerned, if they just had the audio of all this, they could have done, as long as it was based on photos and stuff, I would have been along for the ride. And it occurred to me, this really could be the killer use case for AI, because the human is very visible. The authenticity is there, and it's electric. It is unbelievable. But anyway,
I
go
agree.
finish watching Get Back if you didn't finish.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to throw out a recommendation for a new Netflix series called Boyfriend on Demand. This is a Korean drama. The premise is a company comes out with a headset that will allow you to go on unlimited virtual dates. So it's VO3 3D, right? So it's a virtual world with virtual people, but you can walk around in it. They play, of course, with the idea that you can like change your outfit and eat things calorie free and all of this stuff. But the idea is, what is more satisfying? Getting the perfect date, having the freedom to have multiple dates with no consequences, or dating someone in real life who's slightly disappointing but real. And I won't spoil it, but I bet you can guess where it ends up. And I thought they got there pretty good. I like the journey they take. It is a non-obvious journey. And if you haven't been spoiled by the trailer, you might not even guess who the love interest is eventually going to be, although it becomes clear after a few episodes. But the people who work at a webtoon company managing writers are the kind of the cast, and then one of the producers of one of the top webtoons is the person going on the dates. There's a partnership with the company, and they ask her to test it out for a month, and then of course she ends up deciding to pay for it. and goes on more dates. But it's funny, it's interesting, and it goes from being kind of fun, silly at the beginning to like, oh no, we're actually making a decent point here. So if you're curious, you can get it on Netflix. It's called Boyfriend on Demand.
Tom, stories like these, do they land differently for you now that they're not at all science fiction and not at all fantastical and quite literally the reality that we're living in right now?
Yeah. And I think this is a great example of people being aware of that in the writing of like, listen, you can't technically do this today because we don't have the compute to do this much rendering, but you could technically do it if you did have the compute to do it. And we're certainly building lots of it. So yeah, there was definitely a sense that they were saying, you can almost do this now. So what do you think? Once you can do it, would you? And what are the consequences of it? There's a kind of a webtoony. I think that's one of the reasons they made the characters part of a webtoon platform. There's a webtoony app called Love in Deep Space, where you can go on dates and all of that. Now, it doesn't have the immersiveness of this, but they're basically combining the premise of that app, where you have a storyline and go on, virtual dates on your phone, and saying, yeah, but what if you use that with the technology we're about to get that can simulate the world around you as you go along? It's pretty interesting. The other thing they didn't fall for that I thought they would is like some kind of biological problem where like, she starts to get, her brain starts to fry out or it starts to have physical. They didn't do any of that. They're like, there are no repercussions to using this. Let's just not even have that part of it. Let's just see if the social repercussions have an effect. And I thought that was a good choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you
sorry. What you just heard was me wagering whether or not this was worth the 30-second digression. And I think it is. I was so blown away when we were watching Starfleet Academy together and a major plot line was resolved by ship's AI was confused because it didn't know old crew died and needed to be updated on new crew. And so the novel solution was read this comic book. Oh, I understand now. Progress bar ends and then new crew is accepted. And it was so strange that the tension there was I could tell I was supposed to be worried for them or that this was novel in any way. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I've dealt with this where I've had to forward documents to a robot so that I understood. No. I'm Brian Brushwood. You're allowed to. It was a strange moment where science fiction was not science fiction.
Hey, if you've got incidents like that, you're like, that actually reminds me of something. Email us, cordkillers@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, it is time now for you to tell us about the project that you've got going on outside of Cordkillers that people will find compelling, interesting, and want to help you with.
Yeah, you know what? This year, it's novel. It's my physical body walking around South by Southwest. You coming to Austin this month? Hit me up. Cordkillers@gmail.com or just write me an email. Brian, BRIAN, @schwood.com.
Like that's his real email address, everybody.
Yeah.
You're like, that probably goes to some assist. No, that's the real thing. I used it earlier today.
Yeah.
All right. Let's scan the horizon then.
Send a scanning to abort.
Scanning the horizon!
Netflix CFO Spencer Newman was speaking at a Morgan Stanley conference this past week and said the following line: even though we're pretty big, we're pretty small. And everyone looked at him and said, shut up. That doesn't mean anything. No, he went on to explain that they are about 7% of the addressable revenue market. So while everyone thinks of them as big, they are worldwide. They're in 200 plus countries. They have 200 or 300 million subscribers every month. They say there is 93% of revenue that our kind of business could get. That's what addressable revenue means. Like, sure, they can't get revenue from selling coal power because they don't do coal power, but from selling streaming and video services and some games, they feel like there's 93% of the revenue out there that they could still take a chunk of.
Yeah. To be honest, I mean, if you want to put Netflix in perspective, just compare them to YouTube and realize they. To be honest, I think that's a fair statement. I think it's a good thing to remind people of, especially when everybody is overplaying, what Netflix purchasing Warner Brothers would have done to, the Hollywood economy, et cetera.
Yeah, exactly. Because I did a pretty early on rough estimate back in December and was like, honestly, YouTube is so much bigger that Netflix buying Warner versus Warner buying Paramount is somewhat indistinguishable from the streaming side. And from the cable TV and movie side, Netflix doesn't do it. They have zero cable TV. The movies they put in theaters are for award consideration, so it's a rounding error from zero. They are not overly dominant in a market that mattered for that, is what I thought anyway. And to your point, Moffett-Nathanson just put out an estimate that YouTube brought in $40.4 billion in ad revenue last year. That is more ad revenue than Disney, NBC, Paramount, and Warner Brothers Discovery combined. The ad revenue from those four, the big four, was $37.8 billion.
Ad revenue, not streamer subscription.
Yeah,
revenue.
we're not talking about subscriptions or anything else, just the ad revenue. Totally outdid that. Now, yes, Disney also gets theme park revenue and they get movie theatrical revenue and all of that. But ad revenue is kind of a representation of people watching, and people are watching YouTube. And I think that is also what Netflix is pointing out is, hey, there's a lot more we could do to compete with YouTube.
Yeah.
Which is why they're hiring video podcasters. Netflix has also bought InterPositive. InterPositive is a startup founded by Ben Affleck that makes AI-powered tools for filmmakers. A lot to unpack in this story.
I thought Hollywood hated AI.
Affleck will stay on as a senior advisor to Netflix. By the way, we haven't covered it, but they were in kind of a shouting match about acquisitions of content, and Affleck was calling Netflix trash and stuff. Now he's an employee. He will provide ongoing guidance. The InterPositive system builds a model based on your production's dailies. So I think that's the important thing for people to wrap their head around, because a lot of the criticism of AI is you trained on copyright infringement. Now, we can argue whether it really is or not, but there is no doubt that these models were trained on other people's property. Maybe they had a fair use, maybe they didn't, but it was other people's property. These are not. These models are trained on your property and your property alone for the purpose of helping you in the post-production process. So it knows what you're making and what you're doing, and then can say like, oh, well, let me fix the sunlight in this, let me color correct for you. Let me actually create a schedule for you to do an editing timeline that makes more sense. All of that kind of stuff to help your production.
Yeah, I think this is genius. I think this is a good use. I think that this is hopefully something that's non-threatening enough to Hollywood types to embrace, because I could picture, like, for example, I think about the upcoming Nolan Odyssey movie, where a lot of noise is being made about the size of the Cyclops that they're building. And really, they could just build the Cyclops moving around a bit and then just not worry about it, because now they did the part that matters. They built a thing that's going to move in a way that a model can't reproduce, and that's they provided the raw data for it. And so likewise, let's say you want to shoot something at an island, you have all the types of lenses you want, collect all the B-roll, all of the hose down the jungle footage or whatever, and then you set up some sticks and just watch the actors do their thing.
Yeah.
You'll be able to clean it all up. I mean, it's still authentically acting or whatever. Now, whether or not I'm poo-pooing and brushing aside all of the jobs of gaffers and whatnot, that is more complicated. But it seems like if the heart of a great movie is figuring out, getting the shot, seeing the vision of a lens in a way that evokes a feeling from an audience, then there's got to be a place for AI tools. And this seems like a good workflow for it.
Yeah, and the people who've actually followed InterPositive that I've been reading, and I haven't been reading all of them, but the ones I have seem to say this isn't the kind of system that replaces jobs. It's the kind of system that speeds up the amount of content you can make. So you keep the same people, but that same group that could produce a movie a year can now produce 2.
Right.
And that may not sound like much until you realize you've just doubled the amount of movies you could make, right? If you've got budget for 10 movies, if you're Paramount and you want to make 30 movies, well, now you only have to budget for 15 because the same team can make 30 movies with this kind of situation. So that's an important thing for Netflix that wants to put out as much content as possible, especially geo-targeted content that they know these are going to do well in Indonesia, India, and East Asia, whereas these are going to do great in Spain, North Africa, and South America. And so they want to be able to, make as many pieces of content as possible, as cheaply as possible, but keep the quality high. And that's one of the things InterPositive says they can help do.
How long, Tom, until a major movie release has no official canonical version of itself, but instead somebody presses publish and just says, yeah, kind of like the movie Clue that had 3 different endings that were randomly assigned. How long?
That'll be a stunt. That'll be a stunt first. And I would say within the next 3 years, we'll see a stunt that says, we've got a movie that will be customized to you, and everyone will hate it.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone will be trashing it before they've even tried it or seen it. But they will learn a lot from it, and it will be like those Netflix interactive launches where you will say, okay, we learned what works about that and what doesn't. And with those, it seems like they didn't work well enough for them to keep doing them. Mm-hmm. I don't know about this, whether we'll learn that or not. That's my thought.
Yeah.
Roku launched a trivia game, by the way, called Roklue, themed around the Oscars, and plans to do so for other things in the future. They talked about the Grammys, but also just holiday-themed stuff. Roku also can now sell you an Apple TV subscription as an add-on to the Roku channel. Everything is coming together. You can get everything.
I'll tell you
everywhere.
what, man, that is a rich vein. Watching for that, signing up through the Roku channel. If it manages those subscriptions as easily as Amazon does, then that is going to be the biggest thing ever.
Here's the thing. So you can now get Apple TV on Prime Video and the Roku channel. You can also get Prime Video on Apple TV.
Right.
So you can go either way. I'm waiting for the reciprocal. You can now add the Roku channel to your Apple TV subscription. I can't wait for them to clean all of this up, because right now, when I go into Apple TV and I search for something that is on a sub channel, right? Like Shudder, for example, it'll tell me this is available on Prime Video. And I have to go, is it? Or is it available on Shudder if I add Shudder to my Prime Video? Because Amazon has been very good at gaming the system to say, yeah, we have that title. Whereas Apple TV also has Shudder, and I can add it to Apple TV in my example. I haven't actually checked, so if they don't at me. But let's pretend they do, because they have plenty of things you can add to Apple TV, but they don't tell you that. Mm-hmm. I've run across this before where it's like, I know Apple TV has this subservice, Stars, for example, but they're telling me it's on Prime Video. Why is Apple sending me to Amazon instead of themselves? That kind of stuff is still happening. I think it's weird.
Yeah, you see that in, like, if you Google my name in speaker or something, there's some speaking agency that just claims to represent me and doesn't. But they're certain that they can say yes and then get me on the line or whatever.
Yeah. Similar kind of thing. David Ellison, the head of Paramount Skydance, soon to be Paramount Skydance Warner Brothers Discovery, said that HBO should stay HBO and operate independently even after Paramount acquires its parent company. But Paramount Plus and HBO Max will merge their platforms. So HBO, the production, will be able to continue to make not TV, but HBO, but you'll watch it on the same platform that you watch Star Trek. He also reiterated his commitment to releasing 30 movies a year in theaters, 15 from each studio.
Max, call it Max. Bring it back, Max.
Ooh, Paramax.
Yeah, just drop all of that. Although I think it's just going to be the WB Shield. That's too fertile.
But Paramount's pretty, I don't know. Versant Media, the spin-out non-profitable part of Comcast, has issued its first earnings since it spun out of Comcast, and it beat expectations. posted revenue of $6.69 billion for 2025, according to a statement Tuesday, beating Wall Street estimates of $6.64 billion. That's not profit, that's revenue. But also, this dying part of the business still brings in $6 billion plus.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. I wonder how hard they're squeezing it and how much runway they have, because our read on this as the move was initiated was basically, this is how you slice off garbage and put it on the ground without saying that that's what's happening.
Yeah, and that has certainly been my overall take on this. This is a drag on Comcast. Let's get it out of here so it doesn't drag down our balance sheet, which is a big part of it. But also, Versant is now free to pursue things they couldn't when they were part of Comcast. My wife used to work for Fandango Rotten Tomatoes, which was part of that whole complex, and she would run into things that they're like, oh yeah, you can't do that. The people at Universal will get mad, or the people at E will get mad. When you cut them out, now they don't care. They're like, E is part of Versant, but they don't care if Universal will get mad so much because they're an entirely different company. They can acquire things that won't be a competitive conflict. There's all kinds of stuff they can do that they couldn't do before, including being a partner to carry the Olympics. One of the reasons they got a lot of money in their earnings report is that NBC still needed the USA Network and CNBC to carry Olympic events because they didn't have enough channels anymore now that they'd spun them all out if you wanted to watch it on cable. Walmart is nearing a close of its purchase of Vizio, and people setting up new TVs are being asked to merge their Vizio account with the Walmart account, or just use a Walmart account if you didn't have a Vizio account. But this is coming from people with Vizio accounts getting an email saying, hey, if you set up a new TV with us, you got to merge it with your Walmart account. If you don't want to, delete your Vizio account entirely. You can also request a copy of the information. But those are your choices.
Do you think that opens a lane where Walmart can enter that Roku/Amazon selling channels arena?
I think it's the beginning. Yeah, I think it's
a necessary
the shoulder of a lane that they can. Yeah. Walmart's had a pretty cozy relationship with Roku, and I don't think they'll want to jeopardize that right away. But the idea of working more with Roku on that stuff and being able to do on-branded stuff, ONN is the house brand that they use. I definitely see a lot of that.
Well, and especially if you want to give super cheap TVs that, they're essentially ad supported. I don't know. Part of me wonders if what's 25 years old is new again.
Yeah. And I think Walmart is very interested in seeing what parts of that business are useful for them. Because Walmart has done a really good job in the past couple of years of getting back into competition with Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon is now seen as the kind of the old and slow leader, and Walmart being a little more agile these days than it used to be.
Yeah.
Finally, Philo. Philo is a streaming service that is notable for a couple of reasons. One, it is one of the few that isn't owned by any of the big platforms. It's not owned by a Roku. It's not owned by a studio. It's a total indie. It also doesn't have broadcast networks, which helps it keep its prices down. It only has cable networks. And you can get the essential plan from Philo now for $25 a month. That is one of the cheapest plans you'll be able to get. Now, again, you won't get ABC, CBS, NBC, or Fox, but you will get Bravo and ESPN and those kinds of things. It's $8 cheaper than Bundle Plus, which adds access to the ad-supported versions of streaming services HBO Max, Discovery Plus, and AMC Plus. So kind of splitting the difference of being an affordable way to get cable TV and a way to have one bill for multiple streaming services if you want to pay $33.
Man, Philo is what, like number 13, 14 in mind share? I would.
Yeah.
I don't think that's an exaggeration. I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
Also, I threw ESPN out without thinking. Philo doesn't have ESPN. That's another way they keep their costs.
Yeah, I was about to say, that would be
they're very
extremely
entertainment focused. Yeah. All right. Let's go to the chatter then. You got mail. We asked and you responded. I was like, how many folks out there still have an old pre-digital television, an old tube TV. And we got several. George wrote, the TV is hanging from the upper kitchen cabinet. It's probably 30 years old. The converter box is one of those free government supplied boxes from the beginning of the conversion, probably 2008 or so. Still works good enough for its original purpose of watching TV while I'm cooking. I also have another older TV with a converter in my workshop, but I was too lazy to take a photo of that one, but he did send us a photo of the one in the kitchen. Sure, I also have a Tableau feeding my phone, tablet, and the big TV with the Roku box, but this is hanging there, uses no data, gets 38 channels, has no subscription fees, and it will probably continue to work until they shut down ATSC 1.0, if ever. So until then, or when it or the TV dies, there's no real reason to get rid of it. And by the way, it works just fine when the internet goes down too, and I can't use all those streaming subscriptions that I pay for.
I'll tell you what, it sounds like magic. Like, remember when people were advertising boxes that allow you to get free programming using over-the-air technology? I mean,
yeah.
It is novel even to this day.
Yeah. And there's some limits to it. I have a working television and I use it from time to time. It's still it's a better experience on streaming. And my internet rarely goes out, but he's right. When it does, broadcast is usually still there. We got one from Flocktimus Prime. I would bet that seats that are reserved for A-list and Stubbs premium members won't look full. I feel it is more likely it'll look like the interface the airlines use for choosing seats. If there is an open seat that would be reserved, it will show open with a special outline. And when you try to choose it, you'll be presented with an option to sign up or upgrade your membership. Pushing folks to subscriptions that replace or are in addition to selling of individual tickets is a way for them to diversify their revenue and bring in regular payments that happen whether you see the movie or not. Keith, that's brilliant. That absolutely is what they're going to do. I can't believe I didn't think of that when we were talking this. They'll show them as different and ones that are reserved as reserved, but they'll give you the chance to buy a subscription if you want to get that seat. Absolutely.
Well, and now that we're in the age of machine learning, where essentially, market prices are exactly perfectly determined, I can imagine that last minute offers to upgrade to a better seat or like tickets where they can hold tickets until the very last minute and then cause that packed auditorium where it's like you're minding your own business and let's say geographically it knows that you're down the street and it's like, yo, 2 seats right now. Yes, no. All of that stuff is going to get better and better.
Yeah. Then we got G Cornell with Tom, my Sony monitor.
Yeah.
And a picture of his Sony monitor in the snow out in front of his house.
Yeah. That's a Trinitron. You could tell it's got that sharp vertical on there.
David wrote, so Tom requested if anybody still uses a tube TV. I do occasionally. I use an E-Matic converter box on a 1994 20-inch Sony Trinitron my late father won as a prize. And yes, that is an original NES I occasionally use to play Duck Hunt and other original games when retro gaming with Zapper. I include a screenshot of Three Stooges on Saturday night, March 7th, 2026 on channel 31-1 Me TV, just before a Milwaukee Bucks game preempted that night. This is from David in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. Also, if you really want a nostalgic retro photo, I can't find that analog box with the slider, but I do have a vacuum tube Motorola black and white TV connected to that E-Matic converter box as well. I've never gone that retro while watching over-the-air TV, but I'd be willing to take a photo of it working. So yeah, try it out. Let us know.
I'll vouch for retro gaming. To be honest, the only way to do it is on a CRT monitor. Everything else feels, I don't know, inauthentic.
Yeah, if you want the full experience, I highly recommend it. And then Norm writes, hi, gentlemen. Lost. We're doing Lost on the full experience. Lost is so much of an era, and I am really glad someone suggested watching it. The Penny and Desmond storyline in The Constant, with that love stretched across time, completely hooked me. I first watched it before I was married, and I was a lot less cynical about that kind of thing, so it hit even harder. It also made me think of a recommendation if you have not heard of it. Black Bag is another story about a couple trying to work things out. In this case, the couple happens to be a pair of spies. I had assumed this was some sort of direct-to-streaming movie, but this Cate Blanchett, Michael Fassbender pick was actually in theaters. Either way, it wasn't what I expected, and pass the recommendation on to others. Thanks again for the nudge towards Lost. I'll leave it at first, ultimate, and least, and leave last for another time. Going out on a high, he says.
Yeah, well, all right. We're not going to tip what we're up to in the full experience.
No. But thank you, Norm, and go Oaks. Thank you, everybody, for supporting us at patreon.com/cordkillers. If you have thoughts like these, please send them along to us, cordkillers@gmail.com. We are available for you to watch on the streaming device of your choice. If someone would like to rebroadcast us over the air so that people can get it on their eMatic converter box, please do. And let us know again at cordkillers@gmail.com. We're also live on twitch.tv/Night Attack and youtube.com/Modern Rogue Tuesdays at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Pacific. I reckon we'll talk to you next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Oh, man. That one started midway because I forwarded it along so that I could put the Cordkillers logo on the album art. Sorry about that.
Oh,
man.
that's all right. Barely even noticed.
All right. Outside of that, everything seemed to work. Hold on, let me switch this over to
Black Bag.
Where's
Let's
media?
do the last Lost again.
There we go. Boom. Well, here I'm gonna. Oh dear, that was.
Amos, did you watch the end?
I did.
You did. So you're all caught up on all the Lost now.
I didn't watch the other two because
You didn't. Oh, you never went. You never bothered. Okay.
No. So of this 4-part series, I've watched the first one and the last one.
Oh, okay. Interesting. You're not doing the full experience. You're doing the bookend experience.
Yeah. I'm just the full, not the full.
What we used to call the Bryce slice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not looking at chat today because we're not in StreamYard, and I never opened up chat. I don't have the YouTube chat easily available, but I do have a link to the Twitch chat. Yes, Zoe. Brian went to get coffee.
Brian called it the Florida experience, the FL.
The Florida experience?
Yeah. It's just the F and the L, so it's just FL.
First and last, yeah.
Yep.
I get it. I'm trying not to say all the things I want to say about the end, the final episode. I'll talk about this, but it's less of a blowing analysis. I was pleased that I started the end part 1 and it defaulted to showing me an uncut version of it versus making me watch parts 1 and 2.
I had the uncut version as a selection, like it had the last or the end, and then the end of part 2, and then the end uncut, which was actually longer than the other two combined.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
That's weird.
I don't know what was added, but there's
maybe for syndication they had to cut out a little bit here and there.
Yeah. I don't know. But then I watched it and it was ad free until the very last ad break. I got exactly one commercial and then it went straight back into the stream.
Are you watching on Hulu?
So, yeah. Through Disney
or
Plus.
Disney Plus. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but instead of having like a 2-minute block of commercials, I just got one ad and it went right back into it. So I watched an
Amos
hour and
sounds echoey to people out there, which is odd.
Uh-oh.
He is not coming through my mic. I see you. He sounds fine to me. Maybe a little lower than he would be normally, but not even significantly. So, I don't know.
He sounds great here. Keep talking. Tap your mic, maybe.
Yeah, no, that's the right mic.
Yeah. But I only had the one ad the entire time, so it was actually a really easy experience to watch. And I noticed there were ad breaks in like the show where there should have been an ad.
Yeah, there was
have
spaces,
a little dot. So it wouldn't, even if it had shown me all the ads, it wasn't going to show me all the ads in all the places. So
in all the places they would have been.
Yeah.
Classic
Disney Plus Hulu section.
But I will. I'll just preempt the whole section by saying, "Huh."
What?
That's my review.
Oh, well, maybe save your review for the part of the show where we do the reviews. Okay, here we go. 3, 2. Oh wait. Okay, we do the regular opening on this.
It's the opening and then the same opening for closing.
Got it. All right, here we go.
No credits.
Grand opening, grand closing. Welcome to the full experience. This is the final episode of our 4-episode arc watching Lost. The full experience, of course, is an experiment to see if we watch just 4 episodes, do we get the same flavor as if we'd watched the entire run? We watched the first, ultimate, lowest, and last episode, and this week we are talking about the last episode of Lost, Season 6, Episode 18, The End, which first aired May 23rd, 2010. I'm Tom Merritt. That man is Brian Brushwood.
3 days, Tom. 3
Took you 3 days. 3 days to get to the episode?
To get through the episode.
Watch the episode.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
So you watched it in 60-minute increments.
Yeah, I guess. You know what? Let's start with my praise, which is
okay. Good news first.
I think that there has not been a single better fit for the full experience than Lost. Like in terms of getting what the show's about. Now, whether or not your random slice happens to include character, I mean, there's a lot of characters and a lot of stories over the course of that show, but the pilot, you get it. The lowest or the highest rated episode, you got Desmond unmoored in time, so you get some kind of time travel story, some kind of mysterious island. The worst episode was a perfectly fine redemption arc story of an addict who's finally hidden bottom and finding his way out the other side. That is all an accurate theme on there. And the last episode, Tom, if I may sum up the entirety of it, it's like, man, that was a crazy island. Anyway, they're all dead now, which is, I believe, exactly how we all felt when that came out at the end.
I feel a little bit differently. I think it definitely works as a full experience, but I don't know if it matches up to what you would say are the important parts of Lost if you watched the entire thing. As two people who have watched the entire thing, I could sort of hold both ideas in my head. In our watching on the full experience, Charlie is very important. He has an entire episode to himself. He is key at the beginning of the series. He's referenced as the person who made it possible for Desmond to get a hold of Penny in that episode. And of course, he's the linchpin. They all have to go to his concert. Maybe that's uncovering a secret importance of Charlie, but I imagine people who watched all of Lost probably thought Jack, Kate, and Sawyer were the more important characters. And watching it this way, Jack feels like a mystical, father figure character who kind of floats in and out of the plot when necessary to guide it along. And the fact that he becomes Jacob, whoever Jacob was, that we never met, it means like, oh yes, so he's the new mystical. He's always been the mystical figure. Maybe he isn't even real. Oh wait, I guess he's really important because it's his dad's funeral. Why are we so focused on Jack at the end? Like there were things like that I felt were inconsistent. We never saw the hatch. We never saw the numbers. We only get the merest hint at the smoke monster. So all of these things that are tropes for Lost, you don't get in the full experience. However, back to your original point, you do get a consistent experience. It just feels like Desmond and Charlie and maybe Hurley by the end are the more important characters. But that final episode actually, I think, made more sense to me in the full experience context than it did in the I've watched all 6 seasons context.
Well, especially because I believe when it first came out, and Pete 31415 says, I didn't understand the Sideways universe when I watched it during the original run. I didn't understand it now. Whereas at least in the full experience, you can tell that you're not supposed to understand what's going on, and you get to speed run the piecing together that the Sideways universe is some kind of not real place where everybody is doing not their authentic things. Also, you get one of the things that we see from a good full experience is oftentimes the lowest rated episode will be a clip show. And that's great if you're doing the full experience because you get to peek in. Whereas in those 2 hands touching flash to a whole thing, you get that. And I liked what they did. They set up a little it's pretty clear that there's some kind of Jack Sawyer, Kate triangle in there in the middle of all that. All of that's spelled out, I don't know, pretty well. Like you saved a lot of episodes.
It's a Jack Sawyer, Kate triangle on the island, but then it's a Jack Sawyer other lady triangle in the afterlife where Kate just kind of skates in and takes Jack at the end.
Yeah, but also Kate saves Claire and I guess both on the island and in the Sideways.
Well, I was like, Doc's going to be mad that Detective Ford stole his wife. Like that just kind of came out of nowhere from our perspective, right? We got none of the love story of Sawyer and what's her name, Juliet. I think that everything was consistent. I think that the Timeless Afterlife, I was less critical of when it first aired. I was like, this is a wonderful goodbye to the cast. And maybe it was all a dream kind of feeling of it. I can forgive because it let me let go. It was like, to me at the time, I remember feeling, they're all dead to us because this show is ending. And so this is our chance to let go and say goodbye and let them all move on. And I kind of liked that. In the full experience, it felt more like a meta commentary on death of like, that island was the most important time of your life and what bound you and made you. And that's why you're all coming together in this hallucinatory afterlife in order to move on. And I'm like, yeah, I guess that is consistent in its own way as well. I don't hate it. And I don't feel cheated because I only watched 4 episodes.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing is when that came out at the time, I can't stress enough to anybody who was not part of the phenomenon at the time, boy, was that drug out. Everything was very labored in leading up to that moment where we're finally going to get answers. And yeah, we got an answer, but it was to some unsatisfying.
I think one thing I'd forgotten is in season 6, we spend all season with Jack saying, we got to get back to the island. We got to get back to the island and all this stuff. And a lot of that, and I don't even remember how much of it was in this afterlife. And I think that felt like a con of like, wait, I thought we were getting a story in our time, but now you're showing me a story that's the afterlife. When you cut all of that out in the full experience, that this episode as a standalone works great. It's like, oh, we've just been transported and we're as confused as they are. And that works well.
Well, and because there's not a heavy buy-in, we don't feel screwed on the deal. And it just reads as, oh, that's an interesting Twilight Zone-y kind of thought. The idea that, that there's
a meditation on the meaning of life and death.
Yeah, like occasionally.
Which I think what they meant to do, but they set us up for something else and we didn't get it.
Well, and to be honest, I found myself kind of drifting into hippie thoughts because there's some schools of thoughts that say consciousness, emerges in a group setting or whatever and is outside of time and all that stuff. And it's like, oh yeah, that would be such an important event that this kind of psychic echo might resonate. I don't know. I didn't hate it. Now, I will fault the very tedious pacing of everything on the island. Like, boy, oh boy, did I not have a buy-in on, like Tom, I cheated just a little bit. Couple of 10-second skips. Somebody was like, "Oh,
so it's okay, Brian. It's okay.
You're reaching for a thing. Let me skip 10 minutes or 10 seconds forward.
It felt like
Still
10 minutes.
reaching for it. I was like, maybe another one. Still reaching for it, and I was like, I won. Fourth time, and it lands on it. I'm like, okay, that's fine.
I wrote in my notes, if I don't think too hard, the tension for putting the rock in the fire hole and the people taking off in the plane could be quite suspenseful.
Yeah. Also, now I'll tell you what's not suspenseful. Suspenseful was the budgetary savings they got on the production. That part that was a little thin.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if that's just our modern eyes, though. Like, I don't remember thinking that back then, but maybe I just wasn't.
I mean, maybe, you know what? Maybe it's the proximity to recently having watched Land of the Lost. After the luxurious Hawaii Island on the outside, felt a little sleestacky in there.
A little sleestacky in there. No, you're right. The island part was the draggier part. And this was a very long episode. I'm not even saying it was too long. Maybe it had to be this long if you're going to tell this part of the story. But you know, all this stuff with like, oh, Hurley and Desmond, or Hurley, you're now the new Jacob. And it's like, we never got introduced to that whole idea. So
to be honest, I liked it better that way. I'm like, apparently there's a Jacob, and it's a very important
there's
office.
There's a guardian of the island. They call it the Jacob. Okay, fine. Yeah, right? I get it now. And why Jack has to just lay there, and it was like, he's dead. I'm like, you're not going to go try to rescue him after all of that? You're just going to be like, well, I guess he's down there being dead. Then it turns out, he doesn't stay down there, but nobody discovers him. A little weird. Not the worst thing that could happen.
Well,
but it was a little weird.
You could tell somebody that was their precious bookend in the writer's room, like, no, and he lays down in the bamboo exactly where we start.
The eye closes this time, because remember it opened at the beginning,
and it was like, oh, that
I did
is
get that,
good.
we did see that.
And then finally at the end, they're like, how do we? Who cares? Just he gets up and walks.
Just show the wreckage. People want to see the set one last time, right? We do. Okay, let's do that.
Yeah.
Amos did not watch the ultimate or lowest, but he did watch the first and the last. So, Amos, what are your impressions of the end?
I enjoyed this episode more out of the context of having watched the entire series.
Oh, did you not like it the first lap?
I did not. I didn't understand it. I didn't get it. This was a nice compressed way to take the ending of the story to wrap it up. Give me the vignettes and the little flashbacks that we were always, we mentioned we didn't have a flashback episode during this viewing of the full experience. It gave me all that, gave me closure. Maybe it's because I don't remember as many details. I didn't feel like there's many hanging chads left over at the end of this. I want to know what happened to Hurley and how he and Ben were 1 and 2 for the island for a while. I want to know more about that. That's probably something I forgot that was shown that I just don't remember.
To be honest, that was one of my favorite things. And again, you probably missed it because, of course, you're paying attention to the big tying up at a bow at the end of a 7 however many year thing. Whereas in this, it seems pretty clear that Hurley died of old age and had been along his side for the majority of his life. And I thought that was really neat. Look at that. I'm getting a little goosebumpy thinking about it.
Like you just read it in their relationship in the afterlife. Yeah.
Why did Ben have to stay after? Like, why didn't he join the rest of the group?
I mean, very clearly because
to take care of.
Very clearly because we, the audience, weren't ready to forgive him, and he knew it. And so I thought that was a good kind of self-selected purgatory of working off his original sin.
We never know what his sin is in the full experience, but that is one purpose that the island portion of this episode serves, is to point out Ben was not trusted. Ben was a bad guy. Locke got turned, and now Ben has a chance of redemption. I feel like I got that from this episode, even though I don't have the backstory of him.
Yeah. And as far as the island stuff goes, I didn't understand how pulling the plug stopped the water. Okay, fine. You know, you want to make that weird mystical thing. Cool. the only part of the show.
I don't understand how pulling the plug did most of what the pulling the plug did.
I mean,
including
what they pulled the plug on the show.
Yeah,
is what they
yeah.
did.
Yeah.
And it's just me. It's a personal thing. I hate it whenever they show the starting up of an aircraft.
Oh my God!
Because it was
Hey, did
so
you know
wrong.
that jets can
completely
go
wrong.
backwards? Apparently,
They can.
not that
but
one.
not that way, and not how they did it. And yeah, there's so much wrong with that. That whole part of the scene was just very wrong and took me completely out of it. And that's only because of no airplanes.
Oh, you didn't see the little guy that showed up to tow it backwards? Just for that one.
The island natives showed up.
I mean, even the little things like we only have enough power to try one more time. Well, okay, fine, but if your battery is going to start, you're going to start the JFS because the battery itself can't start the actual engines. And once the JFS is going, you've got all the electricity you need to run the aircraft, even if you didn't have it's 20 years of aircraft maintenance. It took me completely out of it. I couldn't even pretend to enjoy that part.
You're like a doctor watching a medical drama at that point, right?
It was pretty awful.
Yeah.
But I mean, I enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was a nice button up, and it's probably because I forgot so much of the drawn out, 5.5 years of uninteresting stuff that happened in between.
Yeah, dude, the lowest
Agreed.
rated episode that we watched was far superior to the last episode.
That's not unusual, honestly. Sometimes it's even reflected in the ratings, and we're like, well, we're actually watching the second lowest because the ending is so bad. Usually the ending gets a bit of a boost in rating because it's sentimental and people are like, oh, I loved this series. And so they give that ending a little extra boost. But I agree with you that
too, right?
Fire and Water was a really solid episode as a standalone episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, folks.
glad we missed a lot of
Any
stuff.
other last thoughts on Lost, the entire run of the full experience?
Highly recommended. In fact, if you are lost curious, that's a fine way to invest 5 hours to get culturally caught up. I think
You'll
there's
get the
no
flavor, but you won't get all the references. That's the one caveat I would say. If people start going 2, 4, 8, 42, you're going to be like, I don't know what you're saying. So you're not going to get every one of those kind of references. But as to the like, oh, it's a mystical island and it was a bunch of people and you'll be able to understand what people are saying about it.
I'm willing to bet there's a single episode that could be added to this 4-episode run through the series that would give you the numbers, that would give you this a better view maybe of the smoke monster, introduce you to the others. I think there's probably one episode that might cover the 3 of those to really like supplement what we missed in this.
The Hatch episode where you meet Desmond for the first time would fit into this well because Desmond's such an important character in the full experience version.
So
and would give you most
one of season 2. Because that's when they opened the hatch, episode 1, season 2.
Yeah.
Because they ended season 1 on the hatch being discovered.
Yeah.
So it's probably I'm saying just one more episode and you probably have enough. It shows just so dense with different little anomalies.
Then it would be the Fool experience.
Yeah.
First, ultimate, lowest, last, and extra.
Fully.
Fully.
Dude, I am so
Fully.
stoked about next week's full experience.
All right. Yes. Let's let everybody know what the next one will be. We are going to watch 4 episodes of Mr. Show, the iconic 90s sketch comedy show that launched way more careers than you even imagine if you remember it. We will start with episode 1 of season 1, The Cry of a Hungry Baby, which first aired November 3rd, 1995. Once again, Mr. Show is the next full experience. So we will talk about that next time. If you want to go find that and watch it before then, please do. You get these episodes earlier if you are a patron, and you get to hear us discuss on After Talk which ones we should do. And that'll allow you to jump in an email and say like, hey, I heard you going one way or another. Let me nudge you this way. Mr. Show is one of those that was suggested by somebody in the audience. So become a patron, be part of the conversation. Patreon.com/Cordkillers. We'll see you for that first episode of Mr. Show next time.
Nailed it.
4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42.
Yeah. All right, guys. So long to the stream, folks. We'll see you guys. We'll
Bye.
be